Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The first tendrils of sunlight crept across the vast bedroom suite, illuminating the quaint details of the antique furnishings. William's peaceful slumber was gently interrupted by the soft glow, his eyes fluttering open. His vision, initially blurred, slowly came into sharp focus as he retrieved his spectacles from the bedside table. A habitual morning ritual. The room's stillness and 2 vacant spots beside him immediately captured his attention. His wives were notorious early risers, but their absence, particularly on a relaxed weekend morning, seemed odd. He pondered their whereabouts briefly before curiosity urged him to rise. The plush carpet greeted his bare feet as he sat up and reached for his favorite worn-out slippers. The hardwood floor creaked beneath his weight as he padded towards the door, the faint aroma of coffee drawing him downstairs.
"Hello?"
William called out, his voice still rough with sleep.
"Anyone home?"
Silence greeted him, broken only by the gentle hum of the refrigerator. He made his way to the kitchen, expecting to find a note explaining their absence. Instead, he found a beautifully wrapped package sitting on the counter, tied with a shimmering ribbon. William approached it cautiously, as if it might suddenly spring to life. A small card was tucked beneath the ribbon, his name written in elegant script. He plucked it free, unfolding it with trembling fingers. Dearest William, today is a day of magic and transformation. Follow the instructions inside and prepare for a journey beyond your wildest dreams. All our love, your devoted wives. His heart raced as he carefully untied the ribbon, lifting the lid to reveal a set of neatly folded clothes. On top lay another note, this one detailing a series of steps he was to follow. William read through them, his eyes widening with each instruction. With a mix of trepidation and excitement, he gathered the clothes and headed back upstairs to shower. The warm water helped to calm his nerves, but as he dried off and began to dress in the unfamiliar garments, the butterflies in his stomach returned full force. The outfit consisted of a soft, cream-colored shirt and tailored trousers in a deep forest green. As he buttoned up the shirt, he marveled at how perfectly it fit, as if it had been made just for him. The final touch was a pair of polished brown leather shoes that gleamed in the light. William stood before the full-length mirror, hardly recognizing the man staring back at him. His auburn hair, usually left to its own devices, was neatly combed and styled. The clothes accentuated his lean frame in a way his usual baggy attire never did. Taking a deep breath, he descended the stairs once more, this time heading for the front door as per the instructions. His hand hesitated on the doorknob, a moment of doubt creeping in. But the thought of his wives' loving faces pushed him forward, and he stepped out into the bright morning sun. A sleek black car idled at the curb, its driver standing at attention beside the rear door. The man smiled warmly as William approached, opening the door with a flourish.
"Good morning, sir. Your chariot awaits."
William slid into the plush leather seat, his mind whirling with questions. As the car pulled away from the curb, he watched his familiar neighborhood recede in the rearview mirror, replaced by unfamiliar streets and buildings. After what felt like hours, but was likely only 30 minutes, the car came to a stop outside a grand Victorian-style mansion. The driver opened the door, gesturing towards the ornate front entrance.
"Your destination, sir. They're expecting you inside."
William thanked him, his voice barely above a whisper. He ascended the stone steps, each footfall echoing in the quiet morning air. Before he could raise his hand to knock, the door swung open, revealing a smiling woman in an elegant blue dress. "William, we've been eagerly awaiting your arrival."
Please, come in.
He followed her into a foyer that took his breath away. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, their light dancing off polished marble floors. Ornate mirrors and gilt-framed paintings adorned the walls, creating an atmosphere of opulence and grandeur. The woman led him through winding corridors, finally stopping before a set of double doors. She turned to him, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "Behind these doors, your transformation awaits. Are you ready to step into a world of magic and wonder?" William nodded, unable to form words. The doors swung open, revealing a room that looked like it had been plucked straight from a fairy tale. Racks of shimmering gowns lined the walls, their fabrics catching the light and throwing rainbows across the room. In the center stood a trio of smiling women, each more beautiful than the last.
Welcome, William,
the tallest of the three said, stepping forward. "We are your fairy godmothers for the day, here to grant your heart's deepest desires." William's eyes widened, taking in the scene before him. I don't understand. What's happening?" The second woman, her auburn hair matching his own, laughed softly. "Your wives have gifted you a day of transformation and self-discovery. They believe there's a part of you longing to break free, to explore aspects of yourself you've kept hidden." The third woman, petite with sparkling green eyes, took his hand gently. "We're here to help you on that journey, to show you possibilities you may have never considered, but only if you're willing. The choice is entirely yours." William's heart raced, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through him. He thought of his loving wives, their unwavering support and acceptance. If they believed this was something he needed, who was he to argue? Taking a deep breath, he nodded.
"I'm ready."
The women's faces lit up with joy. They guided him to a plush chair in front of an ornate vanity, its mirror surrounded by softly glowing lights. The tallest woman, who introduced herself as Evelyn, began to work on his hair, while the others, Mara and Fiona, gathered an assortment of cosmetics. "Close your eyes," Evelyn instructed gently. "Let yourself relax and open your mind to new possibilities." William did as he was told, feeling gentle hands working through his hair. The scent of various products filled the air, mingling with the soft, classical music that had begun to play. He felt brushes sweeping across his face, cool creams being applied with expert touches. Time seemed to lose all meaning as the women worked their magic. William drifted in a state of semi-consciousness, lulled by their soothing voices and gentle ministrations. When at last they told him to open his eyes, he was almost afraid to look. The face that greeted him in the mirror was both familiar and utterly foreign. His auburn hair had been styled into soft waves that framed his face beautifully. Subtle makeup enhanced his features, bringing out the green of his eyes and the curve of his cheekbones. His lips, painted a soft rose color, parted in amazement.
"Is that me?"
he whispered, reaching up to touch his face. Mara smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It is indeed. You're beautiful, William. Now, are you ready to see what else we have in store?" He nodded, still captivated by his reflection. The women helped him to his feet, leading him towards the racks of gowns. Fiona ran her hand along the fabrics, finally pulling out a stunning emerald green dress. This one, she said decisively. It'll bring out your eyes perfectly. William hesitated, his fingers brushing against the silky material. I've never worn anything like this before. There's a first time for everything, Evelyn said encouragingly. Trust us, William. Let yourself experience this fully. With their help, he stepped into the gown, feeling the cool fabric slide against his skin. Mara zipped up the back, adjusting the fit until it hugged his body in all the right places. When he turned to face the full-length mirror, he gasped. The person staring back at him was a vision in green, the dress accentuating curves he never knew he had. The bodice was intricately beaded, catching the light with every movement. The skirt flowed to the floor in graceful waves, making him feel like royalty. I can't believe it, William breathed, turning to see himself from different angles. I look absolutely stunning, Fiona finished for him, beaming with pride. They spent the next few hours trying on various gowns, each more beautiful than the last. William found himself laughing and twirling, reveling in the swish of fabric around his legs. With each new dress, he felt a piece of himself awakening, a part he had long kept dormant out of fear and societal expectations. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow through the windows, Evelyn approached with a final gown. It was a masterpiece of design, a ball gown fit for a fairy tale princess. The bodice was adorned with thousands of tiny crystals that caught the light, creating a dazzling display. The skirt was layers upon layers of tulle, creating a dreamy, ethereal effect. This, she said softly, is the pièce de résistance. Are you ready for your final transformation? William nodded, his heart pounding with anticipation. As they helped him into the gown, he felt a sense of rightness settle over him. When the last button was fastened and he turned to face the mirror, tears sprang to his eyes. The person reflected back was more than just beautiful. She was radiant, glowing with an inner light that seemed to illuminate the entire room. Her auburn hair was now styled in an elegant updo, adorned with a delicate tiara. The gown hugged her figure perfectly before flowing out into a cascade of shimmering fabric. Oh, William whispered, his voice catching in his throat. I don't know what to say. Mara stepped forward, taking his hands in hers. You don't have to say anything, my dear. Your eyes say it all. How do you feel? William took a moment to truly consider the question. He felt free, liberated, as if a weight he hadn't even known he was carrying had been lifted from his shoulders. He felt beautiful, confident, and more himself than he ever had before. I feel complete, he finally said, a smile spreading across his face. The three women exchanged knowing looks, their eyes shining with happiness. Fiona produced a pair of glass slippers, kneeling to help William slip them on. Every princess needs her glass slippers, she said with a wink. As William took a few tentative steps, marveling at how naturally he moved in the heels, Evelyn cleared her throat. There's one last surprise, she said, gesturing towards the doors. Are you ready to greet your adoring public? William's eyes widened, a flutter of nervousness in his stomach. But as he looked at his reflection once more, he felt a surge of confidence. He was ready to face the world as his true self. Yes, he said firmly. I'm ready. The doors swung open, revealing a grand ballroom filled with people. At the center stood his wives, their faces alight with joy and love. As William stepped into the room, A hush fell over the crowd, followed by a wave of awed whispers. His wives approached, tears glistening in their eyes.
"You look absolutely breathtaking,"
one said, taking his hand.
"How do you feel?"
the other asked, her voice full of concern and love. William looked between them, his heart swelling with gratitude and affection.
"I feel like me, the real me. Thank you both for seeing what I couldn't see in myself."
Music began to play, a waltz that filled the air with its sweeping melody. His wives each took one of his hands, leading him to the center of the dance floor. As they began to move in perfect harmony, William felt as if he was floating on air. The night passed in a whirlwind of dancing, laughter, and joy. William moved from partner to partner, reveling in the feel of his gown swirling around him, the admiring glances and kind words from those around him. For the first time in his life, he felt truly seen and accepted for who he was. As the final notes of music faded away and the guests began to depart, William found himself back with his wives. They enveloped him in a warm embrace, their love a tangible force surrounding him.
"Thank you,"
he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for this gift, for helping me discover this part of myself." "We love you," one wife said, kissing his cheek gently. "All of you, every facet and every form."
"This is just the beginning,"
the other added, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "There's a whole world for you to explore now, and we'll be right here beside you every step of the way." As they left the ballroom, William caught a glimpse of himself in a mirror. The person who looked back was transformed not just in appearance, but in spirit. Gone was the shy, introverted William who had woken up that morning. In his place stood a confident, radiant individual, finally comfortable in their own skin. The car ride home was filled with quiet conversation and tender moments. William's wives listened attentively as he recounted every detail of his day, from the initial nervousness to the final moment of triumph on the dance floor. As they pulled up to their house, William felt a momentary pang of sadness. Would he have to go back to his old self now? As if reading his thoughts, one of his wives squeezed his hand reassuringly. "This doesn't have to end here," she said softly. "This can be the start of a new chapter for all of us, if that's what you want." William looked between them, seeing nothing but love and acceptance in their eyes. He nodded, a smile spreading across his face.
"I'd like that very much."
They helped him out of the car, the fabric of his gown rustling in the night breeze. As they walked towards the front door, William paused, looking up at the star-filled sky.
"Thank you,"
he whispered, to no one in particular, and to everything at once. "Thank you for this magical day, for the love that surrounds me, and for the journey that lies ahead." With that, he stepped over the threshold, ready to embrace whatever the future might hold. The door closed behind them, but for William, a whole new world had just opened up. In the days and weeks that followed, William's life underwent a gradual but profound transformation. With the unwavering support of his wives, he began to explore his newfound identity, incorporating elements of femininity into his daily life. They started small, with subtle changes to his wardrobe, softer fabrics, more fitted cuts, and a splash of color here and there. William found himself drawn to flowy blouses and delicate jewelry, each new addition to his closet feeling like another step towards authenticity. His wives helped him navigate the world of skincare and makeup, teaching him the art of enhancing his natural features. William discovered a love for the ritual of it all, the gentle application of creams and serums, the precise strokes of brushes and blenders. Each morning, as he looked in the mirror and saw his transformation take shape, he felt a sense of joy and rightness that he had never experienced before. As his confidence grew, so did his willingness to venture out into the world in his new form. The first time he went grocery shopping in a simple sundress and sandals, his heart raced with a mix of fear and exhilaration. But the world didn't stop turning. People smiled and nodded as they passed, just as they always had. William realized that the acceptance he sought had been there all along. He had just needed to accept himself first. There were challenges, of course. Not everyone in their lives was immediately understanding or supportive. William's parents, in particular, struggled with the change, but with patience, open communication, and the steadfast support of his wives, even they began to come around. Seeing the happiness and confidence radiating from their child, they couldn't deny the positive impact this journey was having. Work presented its own set of hurdles. William had always been a valued employee, known for his keen intellect and problem-solving skills. But would his colleagues and clients accept this new version of him? With trepidation, he scheduled a meeting with his boss to discuss his transition. To his surprise and relief, his employer was supportive, offering resources and assistance to make the workplace transition as smooth as possible. There were awkward moments and a few insensitive comments, but overall, William found his coworkers to be accepting and even encouraging. As the months passed, William, who now went by Willow, found herself blossoming in ways she never thought possible. Her natural introversion gave way to a quiet confidence. She began to speak up more in meetings, to initiate conversations at social gatherings, to take risks both personally and professionally. Her relationship with her wives deepened and evolved. They explored new dynamics, finding joy in the fluidity of their roles and identities. Their love, always strong, grew even stronger as they navigated this journey together. 1 year to the day after that fateful makeover, Willow's wives surprised her with another special outing. They returned to the Victorian mansion where it all began, this time for a celebration of Willow's journey. As they entered the ballroom, Willow gasped. It was filled with all the people who had supported and loved her throughout her transition. Friends, family, coworkers, and even some new acquaintances she had made along the way. Everyone was dressed in their finest, the room a swirl of color and light. Willow herself wore a gown reminiscent of the one she had worn that first night, but with subtle differences. This one was tailored perfectly to her now feminine figure, a testament to the physical changes she had undergone. The color, a deep sapphire blue, reflected the depth and richness of the life she now lived. As she made her way through the crowd, accepting hugs and well wishes, Willow felt a sense of completeness she had never known before. She was no longer William pretending to be someone else, nor was she trying to fit into a mold created by others' expectations. She was simply, beautifully, authentically herself. The evening was filled with dancing, laughter, and heartfelt speeches. Willow's wives took turns recounting the journey of the past year, their words painting a picture of growth, love, and unwavering support. There wasn't a dry eye in the house as they spoke of the courage and grace with which Willow had faced every challenge. As the night drew to a close, Willow found herself once again in the center of the dance floor, surrounded by her loved ones. The music swelled, a familiar waltz filling the air. She closed her eyes, letting the melody wash over her, feeling the swish of her gown around her legs and the warmth of her wife's hands in hers. In that moment, Willow knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The journey hadn't always been easy, and she knew there would be more challenges to face in the future, but she was no longer afraid. She had found her true self, and with the love and support of those around her, she could face anything. As the final notes of the waltz faded away, Willow opened her eyes, a radiant smile spreading across her face. The shy, uncertain William of a year ago was gone, replaced by a woman who stood tall and proud, comfortable in her own skin and ready to embrace whatever life had in store. She looked at her wives, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly, "for helping me find my way home." They pulled her close, the three of them swaying gently to the music. "We love you, Willow," one whispered. "All of you, always and forever." And as they stood there, surrounded by the love and acceptance of their friends and family, Willow knew that this was just the beginning. She had a lifetime of adventures ahead, a world of possibilities to explore, and she was ready for every moment of it. The ballroom slowly emptied, guests departing with warm hugs and promises to meet again soon. Willow and her wives were among the last to leave, savoring every moment of the magical evening. As they stepped out into the cool night air, Willow paused, looking up at the star-studded sky.
"A year ago, I never could have imagined this," she said softly. "I was so afraid of who I might be, of what others would think. But now—" She trailed off, her eyes shining with unshed tears of joy. Her wives squeezed her hands. "And now?" one prompted gently. Willow turned to them, her smile radiant. "Now I know that being true to myself is the greatest gift I could ever give. To myself and to those I love. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm excited for what comes next." As they drove home, Willow's mind wandered to the future. She thought about the support group she had recently started for others going through similar journeys, about the memoir she had begun writing to share her experiences. She thought about the plans she and her wives had been making, talks of expanding their family, of traveling the world, of building a life that reflected all the love and authenticity they had discovered. When they arrived home, the three women lingered in the driveway, reluctant to let the evening end. Willow looked at their house, remembering the day a year ago when she had left it as William and returned forever changed. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I used to think of this house as my sanctuary, a place to hide from the world. But now I see it differently. It's not a hiding place. It's a launching pad. It's where I can be my true self, gather my strength, and then go out to face the world." Her wives nodded in understanding. "And we'll always be here," one said, "to welcome you home and to cheer you on as you soar." They made their way inside, the familiar surroundings now imbued with new meaning. As Willow prepared for bed, removing her makeup and changing into a soft nightgown, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. The person who looked back at her was so different from the William of a year ago, yet somehow more familiar than ever. She traced the line of her jaw, the curve of her cheek, marveling at how the subtle changes in her appearance reflected the profound changes within. Her auburn hair, longer now, framed a face that was softer, more open.
But it was her eyes that showed the most striking transformation. They shone with a confidence and joy that had been absent for so long. As she climbed into bed, nestling between her wives, Willow felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journey of the past year had been challenging, beautiful, and utterly transformative, but she knew it was far from over. Each day brought new discoveries, new opportunities to grow and learn and love. "What are you thinking about?" one of her wives asked, noticing the contemplative look on Willow's face. Willow smiled, snuggling closer. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am to have you both, to have found myself, to have this chance at a life that feels truly mine." Her other wife leaned in, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. "We're the lucky ones, love. We get to witness your beautiful transformation, to grow alongside you." As they drifted off to sleep, Willow's last thoughts were of gratitude, for the love that surrounded her, for the strength she had found within herself, and for the endless possibilities that lay ahead. She knew that whatever challenges tomorrow might bring, she would face them as her authentic self, with the unwavering support of those who loved her most. And in that knowledge, she found a happiness deeper and more profound than she had ever known. Willow closed her eyes, ready to dream of the bright future that awaited her, a future full of love, acceptance, and the joy of being truly, completely herself.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!